Thank you, Mayor, for those kind words. We really should give a round of applause to Mayor, without whose support we wouldn't have opened in Teaneck, and obviously we wouldn't all be here tonight. So, round of applause for Mayor. So I have some remarks prepared, but after hearing the program, as someone who has studied this for blended learning for the past two and a half years in incredible depth, I have to say I was sold all over again tonight. It was really a fascinating presentation. What I'd like to do though is to talk a little bit about our experience, move this from the theoretical to the practical, because we're actually doing this year already with fantastic early results. It was only a year ago I stood in a room very much like this in a shul in Teaneck. It was an overflow crowd. We had to also get more chairs. And I spoke a little about the tuition crisis. I don't think I had to really sell anyone on it. If you don't know about the tuition crisis because you're not living it personally, you certainly have friends and family who are. But I also spoke about the fact that big changes were coming to education. You heard a lot about it tonight. We talk about a tuition crisis in the Jewish community. The truth of the matter is, it's not referred to as a tuition crisis, but there's a tuition crisis in America. Spending over the past 25 years has more than doubled in real terms, and educational outcomes are no better than they were a generation ago. Property taxes and other taxes to support education are unsustainable, just like our tuition structure is unsustainable. And there are headwinds in the public school area in the form of teacher unions that are very resistant to change. We have people, most of our people, they're not bad people, they have a vested interest in seeing the status quo stay. They don't want to see change, but change is certainly coming. And cutting-edge innovators are utilizing this model very successfully all over the country. And despite what you've been told, I was told this for many years, there's no way to cut costs. It costs what it costs. And teachers are not overpaid, as you heard Mayor say. And in the traditional model, that's absolutely correct. The traditional model really can't be delivered that much cheaper, if cheaper at all. This model has the benefit of being both better and cheaper. Now, everyone in this audience has a huge advantage over the people in Bergen County a year ago. We showed a lot of the same stuff. We showed how it was being utilized all around the country very successfully. And we were extremely confident, Ian Fields was here today, myself, Rabbi Gralla, our principal, we were very confident we'd create an amazing program. Because we didn't think we were doing anything really new. It was new in the Jewish world, but it was being done very successfully all over the country. But there's a certain amount of uncertainty with new projects, and it hadn't been done in a Jewish day school before. Nevertheless, we had 100 families, I'm not rounding, exactly 100 families in our school, representing 116 children that signed up for our school and bought into this vision. Next year we hope to have over 200 children. Now I said you guys are pretty lucky because again, we're doing it. Not only are we doing it, we're collaborating with WTA to make sure that they learn from our mistakes. And you can come see it in action. I've walked into our school many times, unannounced, and I always see the same kinds of things. I walk into our first grade classroom, which is real. You saw some of the pictures tonight. It's not just a diagram. I walk into our first grade classroom and I see 5 or 6 kids sitting with the teacher in a very small group around one of those tables. I see another few kids sitting with the assistant teacher. I see other kids on the computer learning in a very interactive and engaging way. I see other kids collaborating on a group project, yet other kids are working independently. And when I come back to that classroom 45 minutes later, I see the same thing, except it's a different set of kids doing each of those activities. This model really does work, and I encourage people to come actually see it in action. I want to spend a couple of minutes on making sure I dispel some of the myths. You're going to hear from people who weren't here, maybe people who are here, and we made this mistake. We weren't clear enough on this a year ago. That all this is it's just a computer school. And you're going to have your kids who already watch too much TV spend too much time on the computer, sit with the iPad all day, and now they're going to go to school and be on the computer all day. It's very important to understand the beauty of the model is not directly in the technology. The technology helps, and you'd be silly not to leverage it. But the model is about differentiated learning. And in fact, in some areas, particularly in the Limmudei Kodesh, where the tools online are not as developed, by the way, that's changing. Within a year or two, they're going to be fully developed. But in certain places they're not developed, we still teach very differently. You will still see our classroom looks very different than other classrooms. Conversely, by the way, just utilizing technology could be an extreme waste of money if you don't utilize it properly. I know many schools that want to impress parents, they put smart boards in every room. They still teach the exact same way. If that's all you do, then you wasted $3,000 on a fancy toy. It looks really cool, impresses parents, but doesn't improve educational outcomes. So very important. Understand this is the differentiated learning that really drives the model. Secondly, in terms of the sustainability of the model, we get questions all the time. How is it possible that you can create this at a much cheaper price? Well, the simple answer is it's no different than anything else. So the speaker earlier spoke about, think of any consumer good, pretty much costs much less than it used to and is much better. The same thing is true of education. But if you dig into the weeds, the real answer is that right now, as you've heard from many speakers tonight, we teach to the middle. You have the kids that get tuned out because they know it right away and the kids that fall behind. What do we have to do? We have to spend a tremendous amount of time and money outside the classroom on enrichment, on resource room. This all happens in the classroom. And we didn't even get into, Strasberg wasn't able to dig deep, he didn't have the time to dig deep enough into the social aspects. It makes kids feel a lot better too, to be addressed in the classroom as opposed to having to be outside the classroom. This might seem radical to a lot of people here because it's not what we grew up with. But let me tell you what's actually happened in Bergen County. We have a little bigger community. It's a little more concentrated from an area perspective also. We have 5 other schools, all excellent schools in the traditional model. They have over 3,000 kids in these schools. Every single one in the past year is now talking about how they're utilizing blended learning. One school even said they've been using it for the past 7 years. Funny, I'd never heard about it before I did my own research. And every school has either kept tuition flat or even reduced tuition. Free markets are a great thing. This will succeed, and when it does, it will make all schools better. All schools will get better, and they'll find a way to do it at a more affordable price. And that's a very good thing. Finally, as Mayor alluded to, my goal was not just to start one school. I see this as the critical issue in the Jewish world, one that if we don't get right, we're literally not going to have future generations of committed Jews. So I was very interested in seeing a He'atid-like school happen in every community where there are Jews residing. And I'm even more confident that this school is going to succeed than I was about our school. And the reason is very simple. We're sharing best practices. We're advisors to the board. Jeff, who some of you may or may not know, is a product of this community, is on the board of both schools, right? Things weren't perfect for us. We made mistakes. We had learning things. You guys are going to benefit from that. And the bar is pretty high. If you speak to our parent body, I'm sure you guys, Jewish geography, I'm sure you can find people who go to our school. There's 100 parents out there. It's amazing to me, the level of satisfaction. I know we're only 2 or 3 months in, but I was on the executive board of another school for many, many years. And I'll tell you, it was a great school. It is a great school still. Parents were generally happy, but you can be sure that if a parent is 98% happy, all you hear about is the 2% that they're not happy about. The reaction for our parents has been nothing short of amazing. They don't call up and say, how come blah, 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 blah. But instead, they have a true partnership with the teacher. They understand, and by the way, we pay our teachers a little better than average also. And you have to. They actually work harder in this model. But it was amazing the quality of the teachers we got, as an aside. teachers that really want to be at the cutting edge. But they understand that teachers are working tirelessly to differentiate learning for their children. And this, I haven't spoken to every parent, but I've spoken to most. I've yet to find a parent that is not satisfied. And it's a pretty critical community that we live in. I'm sure it's not that different here. Almost every parent is re-registered, and which is amazing for itself at this time of the year. The few, we don't know of any, I can't say there won't be any, we don't know of any that are not returning because they're not satisfied. We have a couple returning, making aliyah, going somewhere else, logistical issues with kids in other schools. But the parents, they're really our best advocates, so I encourage you to speak to them as well. So just in concluding, as I see it, everyone in this room has a choice to make. You can sit on the side and wait as this is happening all around you, because it's going to be happening. It's happening in the broad world and it's going to happen in the Jewish world. Or you can be at the forefront of it. I hope for the sake of your children and your pocketbooks, and both are important, that you choose the latter. As a businessman, looking at a better education at a far lower cost seems like a very easy decision to make. And I hope that our success at Ha'atid will give you the confidence. I've been so impressed with the leadership of this school, more so than the people I actually work with in many, many ways, that I'm very, very confident it's going to be a success. So thank you for listening, thank you for your time, and I'll also be around later to answer questions.